Achille, Achillek, Chi iota lambda lambda epsilon, in Greek mythology one of the greatest heroes of the Trojan War, the son of the king of the Myrmidonians Peleus and the sea goddess Thetis. In an effort to make her son invulnerable and thus give him immortality, Thetis tempered him in fire at night, and rubbed him with ambrosia during the day. One night Peleus, seeing his infant son on fire, snatched him from his mother's arms, Apollodd. 3:13-6. According to another version, Stat Achil. I-269. Next, Thetis bathed Achilles in the waters of the underground river Styx in order to make him invulnerable, and only the heel by which she held him remained vulnerable, hence the expression, Achilles' heel. Offended by Peleus' intervention, Thetis left her husband, and he gave Achilles to the wise centaur Chiron, who fed him with the entrails of lions, bears and wild boars, taught him to play the mellifluous Cythera and sing, Apollodd. 3:13-6. As the youngest of the generation of heroes, the future participants of the Trojan War, Achilles was not among the grooms of Helena. According to other versions of the myth, Chiron, who had the gift of foresight, kept him from matchmaking, and should not have taken part in the campaign. Thetis, knowing that her son was destined to die at Troy, sought to save him and for this purpose hid Achilles in the palace of King Lycomedes on the island of Skyros. There Achilles lived, dressed in women's clothes, among the daughters of Lycomedes. Here, from the secret marriage of Achilles with the daughter of Lycomedes, Deidamia, a son Pyrrhus was born, later nicknamed Neoptolemus. When Achilles, the leaders of the Scythians, learned the prediction of the priest Calchant that without the participation of Achilles, the campaign near Troy was doomed to failure, they sent an embassy headed by Odysseus to Skyros. Under the guise of merchants, Odysseus and his companions laid out women's jewelry interspersed with weapons, sword, shield, etc., in front of the audience. According to the version, probably dating back to Euripides, Odysseus ordered his soldiers to play an alarm signal. 138. The frightened girls fled, while Achilles grabbed the weapon that was under his hands and rushed towards the enemy, Apollodd. 3:13-6-8. So Achilles, identified by the Greeks, became a participant in the campaign to Troy. At the head of the militia of the Myrmidonians on 50 ships, accompanied by his faithful friend and brother Patroclus, Achilles arrived in Aulis. His participation in the sacrifice of Iphigenia dates back to this time. According to Euripides, the tragedy, Iphigenia in Aulis, the Atrides, in order to summon Iphigenia to Aulis, to sacrifice her, informed her of the marriage with Achilles, and without his knowledge, therefore, when Achilles found out about it, he was ready to defend Iphigenia with weapons in his hands. However, in an earlier version of the myth, this romantic coloring of the image of Achilles was completely absent. He was no less interested in the sacrifice of Iphigenia than the whole army in order to sail faster to Troy. On the way to Troy, during the stop of the army on the island of Tenedos, King Tense died by the hand of Achilles. At the very first battle on the coast of Troas, Achilles killed the local hero Chiton, and soon after, the Trojan prince Troilus, Apollodd. Epit. 3:26-31-32. Since each of these events, for various reasons, offends the god Apollo, they further explain the revenge that Apollo accomplishes with the hands of Paris over Achilles in the 10th year of the siege of Troy. In this regard, a variant of the myth deserves attention, moving the murder of Troilus to the last year of the war, when it foreshadows the imminent demise of Achilles, Virg. Ain. I-474-478. Achilles became especially famous already in the first years of the war, when the Greeks, after unsuccessful attempts to take Troy by storm, began to ravage the vicinity of Troy and make numerous expeditions against neighboring cities of Asia Minor and nearby islands. He ravaged the cities of Lernus and Petas. Plaki. Thebes is the birthplace of Andromache, Metimna on Lesbos. During one of these expeditions, Achilles captured the beautiful Briseis and Lycaon, Priam's son, whom he sold into slavery on the island of Lemnos, Ham. IL 2:688-692, 6:397, 9:129, 19:291-294, XXI 34-43. From the sources that have come down to us, the image of Achilles is most thoroughly given in the Iliad. The motive of Achilles' invulnerability does not play any role here. Achilles is the bravest and strongest of the heroes solely by virtue of his personal qualities. He knows that he is destined for a short life and strives to live it so that the glory of his unparalleled valor will be preserved forever by posterity. Therefore, although the fate of Helen and Menelaus interests him very little, Achilles takes part in the Trojan War, preferring a heroic share of a long but inglorious life. Achilles is very sensitive in matters of honor. The behavior of Agamemnon, who took away from Achilles the Briseis, awarded to him by page 139 as an honorable prize, causes the furious anger of Achilles, and only the intervention of the goddess Athena prevents bloodshed among the Achaean leaders. Achilles' refusal to continue the war after this leads to serious consequences for the Achaean army, but Achilles rejects the attempt at reconciliation on the part of Agamemnon. Saddened by the victories of the Trojans, Agamemnon, on the advice of the elder Nestor, announces through Odysseus and other leaders that he will return Achilles' Briseis, give him one of his daughters as a wife, and many rich cities as a dowry. Book 9. Only when the Trojan army approaches the Achaean ships and the Trojan hero Hector sets fire to one of them, Achilles allows his friend Patroclus, dressed in his armor, to engage in battle to drive away the Trojans. The end of Achilles' anger is put by the news of the death of Patroclus at the hands of Hector. Having received new armor from the god Hephaestus, he rushes into battle, mercilessly defeats the fleeing Trojans and with the help of even the god of the river Scamander, who has rebelled against him, overcomes Hephaestus. In a decisive duel with Hector, Achilles wins, foreshadowing, however, his own death, which he knows from his mother and hears again from the mouth of the dying Hector. Books 16-22. Having sated his violent rage, Achilles gives Priam the body of Hector for a large ransom. Books 23-24. The subsequent fate of Achilles is informed by a late retelling of the unreleased epic poem Aethiopida. After the battles in which Achilles defeats the Amazon queen Penthesilea and the Ethiopian leader Memnon, who came to the aid of the Trojans, he breaks into Troy and here, at the Scaean gate, is killed by 2 arrows of Paris, directed by the hand of Apollo. The first arrow, hitting the heel, deprives Achilles of the opportunity to rush at the enemy, and Paris kills him with the second arrow in the chest. Apolloid. Epit. v3. In this version, the rudimentary motif of the Achilles heel was preserved, according to which it was enough to hit the heel of Achilles with an arrow to kill the hero. The epic, abandoning the idea of the invulnerability of Achilles, introduced a really fatal wound to a person in the chest. The death of Achilles, as well as his battle with Penthesilea, received a romantic connotation in later sources. In particular, a late version has been preserved about Achilles' love for the Trojan princess Polyxena and about his willingness to persuade the Achaean army to stop the war for the sake of marriage with her. Having gone unarmed to negotiate a wedding in the sanctuary of Apollo on the Trojan plain, Achilles was treacherously killed by Paris with the help of Priam's son Deiphobus. For 17 days Achilles was mourned by the Nereids led by Thetis, the Muses, and the entire Achaean army. On the 18th day, Achilles' body was burned and the ashes in a golden urn made by Hephaestus were buried together with the ashes of Patroclus at Cape Sigeus, at the entrance to the Hellespont from the Aegean Sea. Hom. Od. 2436-86. The soul of Achilles, according to the beliefs of the ancients, was transferred to the island of Levka, where the hero continued to live the life of the blessed. Paus. 3:19-11 next. By origin, Achilles was originally a local Thessalian hero, whose cult also spread in various regions of Greece. In the Laconian city of Praesia, there was a temple of Achilles, in which an annual celebration was held. In front of the temple of Achilles located on the road from Sparta to Arcadia, Spartan ephebes sacrificed. Paus. 3:20-8-24-5. The cult of Achilles was also recorded in the Greek colonies in Sicily, page 140, and in southern Italy, Tarentum, Croton, etc. As a place of worship, the inhabitants revered the burial mound of Achilles and Patroclus at Cape Sige. Alexander the Great, and later the Roman Emperor Caracalla, arranged funeral games here. There were also sanctuaries of Achilles in the cities of Byzantium, Erythris, near Smyrna. Finally, the localization of the deceased Achilles on the island of Levka at the mouth of the Danube was explained by the fact that both on this island and in a number of other areas of the northern Black Sea region, in Olbia, near the Kerch Strait, there were temples, altars, and sites dedicated to Achilles. Lit. Tolstoy I, Achilles and the Sacred Lion. Journal of the Ministry of Public Education, 1916, number 8-9, Vita di Illinois Mito di Achille, Torino, 1932, Riviere, La vie d'Achille. Illustri par les Vases Grecs, Lausanne, 1936, Pestalozzi H., Die Achilles als Quelle der Ilias, Z., 1945, Moadis G., L'Achille et le problème de la mort, in his book, Myths Inconnus de la Grèce Antique, p. 1949. V. N. Arho.